What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, Nintendo released their second quarter report for the current fiscal year, talking about all types of updates for Switch hardware sales and Switch software sales. And over the last 3 months, turns out the Switch has done really, really well. It's shocking, I know, but it looks like that comparison that we've been making to the Wii in terms of overall hardware sales units might not be that far off, and the Switch might become the best-selling home console for Nintendo much faster than you originally thought. Also, the PlayStation 5, if you're thinking about going to pick one up next week on launch without a pre-order, Sony made an announcement yesterday that might make that a little bit more challenging for you if you're thinking about going to a big box retail store. Guys, if you enjoyed these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if brand new here, hit that red subscribe button down below. And we're gonna start today with an advertisement from Walmart. No, really. So Walmart put out a commercial yesterday on Twitter for the Xbox Series X that had a lot of people on Twitter tagging about it, talking about it, all kinds of stuff, sharing it online. Mostly because I think it hit a lot of people with a wave of nostalgia, especially if you're a little older and you remember the original Xbox launched. You can see some of that commercial here where it shows a person going through each generation launch. So the original Xbox, the 360, and the Xbox One, and now looking forward to the Series X, even going as far as then pass it down to the next generation, going through generations to get to that point. It was a really cool commercial, and it was certainly for older people like myself and others, I'm sure, who remember the original Xbox coming out and were there at launch. Now, here's the thing here. This would have been really good, and you could have tied everything together if Halo Infinite was coming out with the Series X next week, because as Microsoft said, the only other time a Halo game that big dropped with an Xbox console was the original Xbox. So you could have brought it full circle with Halo Combat Evolved on one side, like shifting to Halo Infinite. But either way, it was a good commercial. Like I said, gets you really remembering the good old days, I guess we'll say, and hitting with a ton of nostalgia. Also, as we're going towards the next generation launch for these systems, more and more kiosks are starting to pop up in big box stores like Best Buy, for example, where we're starting to hear about PlayStation 5 systems being set up so you can go and demo the system, which there you go, you can go try it out, and then you can find out that it's just not in stock anyway. But the one thing was getting passed around quite a bit online, and that was a PlayStation 5 overheating inside one of these kiosks. And people are now worried about it overheating in general. I can tell you, some I've talked to, the PS5, as we've heard before, being quiet and cool to the touch, yeah, that seems to be the case just all the way around. I wouldn't be too concerned about overheating issues, but let's take a look at this image here. This was posted up on Twitter. It says, your PS5 is too hot. Turn off your PS5 and wait until the temperature goes down. So good news there. We know what the temperature warning screen looks like now on the PlayStation 5. That's something that all systems now have. The Xbox One, the PS4, those have that image there. But what do you think the kiosk looks like that could potentially get it to this point? You don't think they'd enclose it in a little box, do you? Well, let's take a look. And yeah, actually, that's what they did exactly, where we have the kiosk and the PlayStation 5 to the right of the TV. And yeah, it's just standing up inside of a little plastic, I'm gonna say like acrylic box there with a light shining it. Look, I know these companies want these systems to look really cool and futuristic and up like almost on a pedestal there with the light shining on it, but they also have to breathe as well. A lot of times these kiosks will have fans that are on and it'll be trying to circulate air inside that little box. There's a chance that in this instance, that fan just wasn't on or it died or who knows, malfunctioning. And sure, the system, really any system you put in a little box like that, very well could overheat if it's not getting any cool or fresh air and it's just really just circulating that same air over and over again. It'll just build up a ton of heat, but I wouldn't look too far into this. Just seems like kind of a one-off issue with a kiosk and then jamming it in a little box. Also, if you're someone who missed out on Jedi Fallen Order last year, I have good news for you, especially if you have Game Pass right now, as next week, you should be able to just play it. Let's check this out here over on Twitter. Electronic Arts tweeted out, begin your journey November 10th when Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order enters the playlist. The galaxy awaits. Find out more here. So what's going to happen is they're going to add it to EA Play, which becomes part of Game Pass on November 10th when the Series X and the Series S launch. And I have even better news. If you are getting a Series X, this game benefits from the SSD and the just overall more powerful system with better frame rates, better load times. It's worth checking out. I really like the game, and it will be added to the Video Game Awards this year because it had this weird cutoff. It was like right there at the cutoff last year. and I'm curious if it'll win anything. I'm hoping it will, but certainly worth checking out, especially if you have Game Pass. It'll just be there for you. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the Nintendo Switch and the crazy sales that they're reporting. I mean, the Switch is just on fire right now when it comes to sales, and I don't think next generation consoles will slow it down going into this holiday, especially since Nintendo adjusted their forecast for the next 6 months. And well, let's just start with how many they've sold so far over these last 3 months. Remember, this would be July, August, and then September, where it cuts off right at the end of September, September 30th. Let's go over to their page that they have set up that show us all the hardware figures they currently have, and then we'll talk about some of the software. Now, we can see on their page here, the Switch has been updated to reflect 68.3 million systems shipped, and you can even see right next to the 3DS there, getting a little close, isn't it, to that 3DS? Another 10 million or so will eclipse the 3DS completely, and that could be as early as the first half of next year. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to think about. But as for how many it sold over these last 3 months, that'd be 6.85 million units shipped. And then between the Switch and the Switch Lite, 5.31 million for the Switch, 1.55 million for the Switch Lite. Now we'll go over to the software sales units here. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still at the top, 28.99 million pieces, but Animal Crossing New Horizons is right behind it at 26.04 million pieces. And it said over the last 6 months, 14 million of these have sold. That is absolutely crazy to see how fast this thing is rolling for Animal Crossing New Horizons. It probably will pass Mario Kart 8 Deluxe this holiday, although keep in mind Mario Kart 8 Deluxe does have a bundle out this holiday, so we'll see how that goes. But I mean, Animal Crossing New Horizons is most likely going to become Nintendo's best-selling game this generation over this holiday. And that is incredible stuff there for Animal Crossing, considering it won't even be a year old by the time it does that. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate at 21.1 million units. Then we have Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which by the next time we hear a report from them, should have crossed 20 million units just on the Switch alone. We're not counting Wii U units here. And then Pokemon Sword and Shield, 19 million units. Super Mario Odyssey at 18.99 million units, Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee 12.49, Super Mario Party that still does not have an update at 12.1 million, and then we have Splatoon 2 at 11, and Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe somehow over 8 million units. Now, if we go over here to The Verge, they did have the count for Mario 3D All-Stars and then also Paper Mario, saying the 6-month period includes Nintendo's release of Paper Mario, the Origami King for the Switch. That was in July. The game sold 2.82 million copies, and then Super Mario 3D All-Stars debuting in September. That would have only had 12 days on the market, by the way, sold 5.21 million copies. Now, that shouldn't surprise anyone because it's a limited release up through March, and it sounds like Nintendo just went crazy with stock. Anytime I go by Walmart or Best Buy, they have a ton of copies here. So at least it wasn't limited in the sense that it's hard to find, and we're like, oh no, they're gonna stop printing these carts by March. Now, everyone, for the most part, who wanted it managed to grab it, and I'm sure it'll still sell like crazy this holiday. So that's easily, I think, gonna cross 10 million without too much issues before it's discontinued at the end of March. But then we go back here to the Switch. So Nintendo had a very good first 6 months now for the Switch. Remember, originally they said they would sell 19 million systems this fiscal year. They seem pretty confident, so much now that they are moving it up to 24 million units from 19 million. Now that means they have to still sell about 11.5 million units by the end of March, but that would put them right at 80 million Switch systems sold by then, which tells me that yes, the Switch is going to become Nintendo's best-selling home console ever. I don't even think it's a question anymore. If they do really hit 80 million units by like the first half of 2021, and it sounds like 2021 is going to be a pretty ridiculous year for them overall, I would expect them to really sprint to that 100 million mark. And you know what? After the Wii, we kind of have to start talking about the PlayStation 4 then. Now, can the Switch catch the PlayStation 4? I kind of think they can, especially if they really do have a Switch revision lined up for next year to continue piling on to those overall Switch sales. You got a Switch Lite, you have a Switch revision, a regular Switch. Maybe you have one of those little Switch TV boxes that you set up. All of that counts. And you know what? I really do think the Switch passing the Wii as soon as next holiday, or at least next fiscal year going into that March of 2022, It's completely possible and most likely will happen. I see it more of it being inevitable if anything else. But yeah, Nintendo cruising along with the Switch after this report. It did pass the NES, and the 3DS is gonna happen this holiday. It'll roll right past that. And really by, I would say, next holiday, we'll be trying to measure up if the following report really will say, hey, the Switch is the best-selling home console now because it just passed the Wii. So big things there from Nintendo. Good to see for the Switch. Next up, let's talk about the PlayStation 5 and an interesting launch day coming up next week. If you're someone who did not get a pre-order for the PS5, you're probably hoping that Sony will have extras at big box stores that you can maybe line up for or just kind of swing in and hope that there's just one on the shelf for you there. I know a lot of times, especially for something as hot of an item like the PlayStation 5, that's not very realistic. Most times, you're probably camping out overnight. It's almost become like a tradition for a lot of these big console releases, these new generations. Turns out, though, that will not be the case this year, and it's going to take a little bit of planning to get this done if you don't have a pre-order currently for the PS5. This is what Sony released on their blog yesterday. Today, we are confirming that all day of launch sales will be conducted through the online stores of our retail partners. No units will be available in-store for purchase on launch day, November 12th or November 19th, depending on your region. Please don't plan on camping out or lining up at your local retailer on launch day in hopes of finding a PS5 console for purchase. Be safe, stay home, and place your order online. Gamers who have pre-ordered for pickup at their local retailer should still be able to do so at their designated appointment time under the retailer's safety protocols. Please confirm the details with your local retailer. Now, a lot of big box stores are trying to figure out how they can do this without creating a massive line, a big crowd inside of the store. That's just what's happening currently with the pandemic that's ongoing right now with COVID-19. There's a lot of precautions being taken. Of course, if you go to like some of the big box stores like a Best Buy, they have it so you can kind of drive up and they'll hand it to you through your car window. And that at least makes it so that a lot of people won't gather around, since even like pre-orders, people were camping out overnight at GameStops outside for the PlayStation 5. People will definitely camp out if that means they get the console after they're done and not just a piece of paper that says they will get the PS5 in like a month or so. It's at least a good idea, but it's gonna make this kind of difficult. Now, how will this work if you do not have a PS5 pre-order currently? Well, I have been getting messages from different people at some of these stores. They seem to have got extra in, but getting it is gonna be a challenge because you will have to go online, place an order for pickup at your local store. So there's a lot of factors here that are gonna depend on stock at your local store and traffic to the website, because I do think this is gonna happen again with bots and just overall people hitting the site hard at midnight, because the word is right now, if you go to the store at midnight, in terms of like the online store, not the actual store, you go online and say you're checking out at Target, they will go to in stock. You'll be able to place an order for pickup in store if they have extras, and then you can schedule a time the following day or that day at midnight to pick it up later on. But I have a feeling it's gonna go like to midnight and then it's gonna go from pre-order to then just out of stock. Hopefully that's not the case and you can get a pre-order in, but I feel like it's gonna be very, very difficult to do so. And we'll see how all of this works out on launch day. Otherwise, I believe the bots are gonna kind of roll in, grab a lot of the PS5s, and then all of a sudden eBay will get a whole new bunch of listings for like $1,200 PlayStation 5 systems. And we'll see how all of this goes. But if you already have a pre-order, you should be able to set an appointment and a time for you to go by the store and pick it up without too much issue. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about EA and a couple of games that they have now confirmed will be releasing in their next fiscal year. And they're pretty big ones. One I'm pretty excited for. One I'm at least interested to see how it turns out on next generation consoles is what I'll say. But let's go over here to the quote from their conference call saying, "We plan to launch at least 6 new games on the next gen consoles in fiscal year 2022. Now, just to make that clear, their fiscal year 2022 would be April 1st, 2021, all the way through March 31st, 2022. They say these will include a new Need for Speed game that is bringing some astounding visual leaps, developed by Criterion team, who have launched some of the most highly rated games in the franchise history. DICE is creating our next Battlefield game with never before seen scale. The technical advancements of the new consoles are allowing the team to deliver on a true true next-gen vision for the franchise. We have hands-on play testing underway internally, and the team's been getting very positive feedback on the game as we've begun to engage our community. Now, to go a little further here, EA does say that Battlefield will be a holiday 2021 release, and they say at larger scale. I do wonder if that means they're going to try to eclipse the 100-person battle royale. I mean, Battlefield has always done that. That was Battlefield's big thing back in the day, was that they really pushed the limits as to how many players could be on one map against each other. So maybe they try to do that here again if they're just focusing on next gen overall. Like, it's just a PS5, an Xbox Series X, and a Series S game, and that's it. They won't do a cross-gen game. So I'm kind of hoping that's the case. It's also, I think, going to depend on how fast these systems really take off overall and they make it exclusive. So we'll see there. But Need for Speed is exciting as well. I almost wonder what they're going to do here. I would love to see them do another Need for Speed Underground, just do Underground 3, use the title, like just something there. I really like Need for Speed Heat, and I think it's a good direction for the series. So that's one of the reasons I'm very excited to see what they come up with here in Need for Speed. It was a big improvement over Payback. So we'll see what happens on that one. But at least now Battlefield and Need for Speed coming up. Now, there was also talk about a remaster, and a lot of us believe that that's probably the Mass Effect trilogy that's been rumored for so long now. And N7 Day coming up, maybe they'll announce it. That probably not. That would make me happy, and well, that's not something EA is looking to do right now. So who knows? Maybe that could be something that gets announced at the Game Awards, or even they hold off till next year. They announce it, and then it comes out like a month or two to kind of kick off 2021. But exciting stuff, at least for Battlefield fans and Need for Speed fans. And we'll finish up with a comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This says, comment of the day. As an ex-Sega fanboy, it makes me really sad to see Sega slowly fading away, but I am sure that if they do a mini Saturn or a mini Dreamcast with like 10 games installed, but you can buy more from the library, like $5 per game, they will get a lot of money. You know, I thought about that. These mini consoles are really cool, the plug and play ones, but I almost wonder if they could evolve a little further to where you do have an online marketplace where you can buy more games for them that they decide to develop. And that would kind of get Sega back in to the console space a little bit if they did a Dreamcast Mini that had, like you said, 10 games installed. And then if people really liked it and they liked the idea of it, you could plug in an Ethernet cable or connect through Wi-Fi, and you get more Dreamcast games that way, maybe with an SD card to pop in the side for storage. But what Sega really needs to do is they need to figure something out with Sonic, because Sonic was like their big mascot for so long back in the day. It was right next to Mario, and really once Sonic started to fade, Sega really started to fade. So I would love to see them reinvent Sonic, have a brand new game that's actually really good, a 3D Sonic game. And I feel like then if Sega does that and then they get something like the Dreamcast Mini on the market, they could actually start to really improve overall, but we'll see what happens. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit the like button, it really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Whereas Nintendo's massive sales for the Switch, they're anticipating 80 million or so by the end of March 2021. Where do you think that places it in the race to get past the Wii? And do you think the Switch could even catch the PS4? Let me know those thoughts down below. And then do you have an idea or a strategy for how you're getting a PS5 next week? If you have not pre-ordered, or if you have you figured out how you're gonna get it or even set an appointment so far? Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.